Hello everyone, welcome back. So a while ago, probably a few months ago now, I did a video called Beginner's Guide to Cultural Anthropology. And that video actually had a really positive response. And lately I've had a lot of requests to do something related to linguistic anthropology. So I thought, why not combine the two ideas and create a beginner's guide to linguistic anthropology? So to anyone who doesn't know me already, hello, my name is Alivia Brown and I am currently a fourth year undergraduate student at UCLA studying anthropology. And before we dive into your resources, like the basic resources that you're gonna need to get a deep understanding of what linguistic anthropology is, I wanna just start you off with the definition. What is linguistic anthropology? And basically, linguistic anthropology is the study of languages all around the world. Now this might seem really simple, but one of the things that I absolutely adore about linguistic anthropology and linguistics in general is how this field brings things to the surface that you might not ever know were even there. And language plays this huge role in how we think about ourselves and how we think about others. If I say, "Thank you so much for watching this video," or "Thanks so much for watching this video," in one of those statements, I seem really positive and glad that you're watching this video. In the next one, I seem kind of sassy and rude and don't actually care that you're watching this video. And I didn't even change any of the words that I was saying. It had everything to do with tone. When you have all these factors at play, it really makes you realize how complicated and complex something like linguistics and language really is. The bottom line here is language is power. So now that you know that, let's dive into the four main categories that I have prepped today. So the four categories that I have for you as far as resources and really getting your hands dirty with linguistic anthropology is books, videos, films, and websites. So let's start with my favorite, books. So the first linguistic anthropology book that I want to recommend to you is called Articulate While Black. Now this book is written by Sammy Alim and Geneva Smitherman. They did this together and I actually had Professor Alim, that's who he is to me, during my freshman and I believe my sophomore year of college. But essentially this book breaks down the linguistic style of Barack Obama. And if you really, I want you to just think about the title there a little bit, Articulate While Black. President Obama, one of the most popular words, adjectives that people were using about him when he was running for president and then became president was, wow, he is so articulate. And it really pushes you to question why Barack Obama specifically was the subject of this particular adjective, when in reality, presidents before him have also been articulate. Now, the main argument that the author really gets at in this book is this idea that race is the motivating factor behind people calling Barack Obama articulate. And his identity as being a great speaker has more to do with the way that he looks than his actual ability to speak. But it is absolutely brilliant and I love this book because it pushes you to think about things that again are not on the surface and you probably would never have noticed if you didn't have an expert like Alim breaking it down and presenting it to you. Now, the next book that I want to recommend to you is on the same note as that first one, and it's called Linguistics. Now, you can obviously tell that my book recommendations are very, I don't want to say biased, that doesn't feel right, but they're definitely leaning one way. You can absolutely have linguistics without looking at race explicitly. There's so many other things to explore. But because those are the types of courses that I've taken in linguistics, that's kind of what I know. So if you are a linguistics student or a linguistic anthropology student, leave more recommendations down below because I do not know it all. But without diving in too deeply into linguistics, because I definitely talked a lot about Articulate While Black, it basically evaluates how race shapes our ideas of language and people. And overall, I just want to say that Linguistics is a fantastic read if this is something that you find interesting. So moving into videos, in my last video, in the cultural anthropology video that I did not talk about YouTube videos, I don't think. I did do films, but I realized that's not super accessible. So now we're going to talk about videos that you can just click that are in the description bar down below. Now, I am a TED Talk stan. I am obsessed with TED Talks. I love TED Ed, you know those little 5-minute videos where they talk about like cool things and how they happen. Yeah, I'm obsessed with those. But in those like TED Talk wormholes that you can find yourself in, or maybe that's just me, I stumbled upon this TED Talk called How Language Shapes the Way We Think. And essentially this woman talks about exactly that, how language shapes the way we think. And she uses some amazing empirical examples. And I'll talk about one right now. I'm gonna ask you right now, which direction are you facing? Are you facing north? Are you facing south? Are you facing east? Like I couldn't tell you which direction I'm facing. If I had to guess, I'd say north. but I don't actually know. But in some cultures around the world, people use terms like north, south, east, and west to greet people. So you say, if I'm walking up to you, you'd be like, I'm going northwest right now. Or yeah, I'm going southeast. Or if there's a cup on the table, you'd say, hey, can you move that northwest for me? These are the kinds of things that I wouldn't say. In English, the language that I speak, you use terms like left and right. Hey, can you move that to the left? And this woman in the TED Talk, she talks about time, and it's so interesting because the way we speak about time impacts the way we think about time. And of course, with directions and everything, and I'm rambling, and I just want to tell you to go watch it right now because it's brilliant. The next video that I have for you guys is a crash course called Sociolinguistics. Now, I'm a sucker for crash course too. I don't get lost in crash course holes, but maybe that's like the next thing that's gonna happen in my life. But this crash course video looks at language variation and regional language variation. So one of the examples that they use in this video is how, while I may call something a drinking fountain, you may call it a bubbler or a water fountain, and this has a lot to do with where you live, even though we're speaking the same language. Another thing that this video talks about as well is about how your sexuality, your gender, your race, your socioeconomic class, everything you can think of also has a lot to do with your language style, how you change your language when you speak to different people, and I just thought this video did a really good job explaining the basics of sociolinguistics. The next category is film, movies, and I only have one, but I have a very special connection to this film. And the movie that I'm going to recommend you is called Sorry to Bother You. Now, Sorry to Bother You is a comedy. It is a popular film, and it is likely that you have heard of it. Now, I have a special connection, like I said, to this film because in my freshman year anthro class, Boots Riley, the director of this film, actually came and talked to our class, and we did a Q&A with him, and it was so cool. It was one of those like UCLA celebrity experiences that I was like, oh my gosh, I really go here, like that's a real director, you know? Anyway, so he came to our class and we watched this film, and if you are not familiar with the premise, it is basically about this black man who enters a job as a telemarketer, and at the beginning he's not having a lot of success, and the man next to him is like, you gotta use your white voice, and he's like, what? He's like, you gotta use your white voice, that's how you sell them. And I think just by this like basic explanation, you can kind of get an idea of how these linguistic undertones are so present in this film. I will warn you though, it takes a weird turn. Like the beginning of the video and the end of the video do not match in my opinion, but it's definitely still a good way to, I think, dip your toes in to linguistic anthropology without having to try so hard. Now, the last resource that I have for you guys is just a simple website. I always talk about this, but if you have more questions about linguistic anthropology or anthropology in general, I will always send you to the American Anthropological Association, otherwise known as the AAA. It confuses people because it kind of looks like AAA, but it is not in fact a car company. But the American Anthropological Association just has a lot of relevant info for anthropology students and the kinds of jobs that you could get as an anthro student. And I just think it's a really great place to go. But other than that, I'm going to have my sources linked down below for you, as always, which I guess technically falls in the website category. But I think that is all I have to say on linguistic anthropology as far as a beginner's guide goes. Now, you guys know, if you are returning, that I am actually a biological anthropology student, so I have not had deep knowledge of linguistic anthropology like some of my viewers. So if you have any recommendations, please leave them in the comment section down below. They can be for me or they can be for the other people watching. I love learning about other parts of anthropology that aren't just my own, obviously. And if you enjoyed this video and you're still here and you're new, go check out some of my other videos. I talk about anthro every single week, and chances are I've touched on something you're interested in. Last week I actually talked about forensic anthropology, which people seem to be responding really well to, and I'm so glad about that. Okay, but now I really do think I'm done talking. I will see you guys all next Sunday, and let me know if there's anything you want to see. All right, I hope you guys are doing well. Bye.